Hey everybody, Derek here to bring another video for The Walking Dead Season 6. And this is going to be a review for the 14th episode of The Walking Dead, which is Twice as Far. I'm sorry I wasn't able to make as many videos this past week. I had a lot of schoolwork to do. I had a big exam on Saturday that I had to study for all week, but this week should be a lot more open. I should have a lot more opportunity to make videos and look at some things that have happened this week, as well as what's going to happen next week. So if you have not watched this past episode of The Walking Dead and you do not want to be spoiled in any way, then I would suggest you exit the video now, because there are a lot of spoilers and a lot of big things that happen in this episode. So last chance, exit now or you will be spoiled. Okay. Well, I think this episode, when it started, it was a little slow. It was kind of things that we were accustomed to. The groups are, living behind the walls and they're, getting ready to go on their next mission or whatever was going on. So I knew that something big must have been coming near the end of the episode, and boy, was I not disappointed. It turns out the Saviors are still around. There are still people that Rick's group should be afraid of. Dwight is back. And sadly, Denise paid the price for everything that happened over the last couple episodes. She was killed. And I'm going to talk about what led up to all of that. So the way the episode starts is just it really just starts going through the day-to-day routine of people in Alexandria, nothing really too special. A couple of tidbits, though, from that section. One is that Rosita has started some kind of a physical relationship with Spencer. The two were seen in the bedroom. Rosita was getting dressed and he was still asleep. So it looks like there is something that's going on between them, but how deep it is, is hard to say. Is there really true love, or is it just a fling? Hard to say. It may improve over time, but the episode really indicates that really there doesn't really seem to be a lot there on Rosita's side. It's more Spencer that has the interest. So we'll see what happens there. And Morgan has completed the jail cell, and Rick comes by and sees it, and Morgan just says, hey, this is just so we have some options in the future. So we'll see what those options will be, but I have a feeling that in the future of the series, we are going to see that jail cell used. Now, the episode really, excuse me, the episode really focuses on two different groups. One is Daryl, Denise, and Rosita, and the other is Abraham and Eugene. And Daryl and Denise and Rosita go to this pharmacy. And basically, Denise had seen it before and wanted to check it out. And she decided to ask Daryl and Rosita to come along with her on this mission. A lot of that was because of certain things that she saw in them. Plus, she didn't want to go alone. She said that she would if nobody would go. But, she really wanted to, bring them along so that way that they could protect her, as well as to, give them something to do, as she said. And later on in the episode, she really explains it. And, the three of them go out, and you see, the relationship between the three of them. It's clear that Denise is definitely having a hard time being on the outside. We've seen that Denise has struggled with fear ever since the start of the show. It was something that she is steadily, as time has progressed, got a little bit braver, but other things in her life she hasn't really been able to confront, and she's had issues confronting those. And basically, when they get to the pharmacy, she ends up finding this walker in a closet, and she just panics and, runs out, knocking things over. And, Daryl and Rosita are, a little bit indifferent to the situation. They were kind of like, oh, great, we have to go out here and babysit Denise while she's, struggling out here. She's never been out here. It's really no business of hers being out here in the first place. But, as time goes along, they really, you start to see them, Daryl and Rosita treating it like it's, an everyday thing for them, and really seeing Denise struggle, and really seeing, at first a little bit of indifference there, but later they really see the value that she brought, and they do thank her for bringing her out, and doing this mission. And when the three are on the way back, Denise ends up finding this car with a walker inside, as well as a cooler, and she wants to get the cooler to see what's inside. And she ends up, opening the door, and she almost gets killed. The walker ends up on top of her, and basically she has to fight the walker off. And she's able to do so successfully. And Daryl and Rosita start putting her down. They're like, "Are you kidding? Like, what were you doing? Why did you do that?" And, she basically said, "Well, this is the way to live. This is how, you live. You take chances. You want to live, you take chances." And it's basically, I think that for Denise, it was a moment for her to really start feeling alive again, as well as to overcome her fears. She really is the kind of person who, when she sees faults in herself, she wants to improve on them. And I think that that's something about her that is different from some of the other characters, especially from Rick's group, that have, really become battle hardened by everything that's going on around them. Really no drive to look back at before and really work on some of those skills. And that's what, Denise confronted, Daryl and Rosita about. She said, "Hey, I'm out here because I need to get better. And I brought you, Daryl, because you remind me a lot of my twin brother, and I thought you could protect me. And Rosita, I brought you out here because, for the first time in your life, you're alone. Abraham broke up with you. You're definitely starting to feel a little, like you don't have those connections before. And, you give me a lot of motivation because you are really, staying strong despite everything that's happened. And I thought that I could learn from you, and she basically says, this is something that I have to do, and everybody else should be doing the same thing, really looking at themselves and trying to, move forward. And, you see Daryl and Rosita kind of being stuck in this same pattern of, feelings and behavior. And Denise challenges them to, really look at that and overcome that. She says, "Look, beforehand, I was afraid of stuff. That was dumb. Like, why should I be afraid of things? Why should I be afraid to tell Tara that I love her? I should have done that before she left. That was just stupid because I was, overcome with fear." And that's really how you live, is overcoming the things that you're afraid of, and, hopefully living a better life. And that's the thing that Denise really wanted to impart on them before, unfortunately, she took a crossbow. She took an arrow to the eye, kind of like how in the comic books, spoiler warning, Abraham is killed in that fashion by Dwight. It does turn out that Dwight is alive. He does have burns on the side of his face, so it makes me think that he has, reunited with Negan in some way, whether it was, voluntarily or against his will, we don't know. And potentially for running away and taking Sherry and Tina with him, perhaps he was punished, but given the chance to, go back out there and make things right. So I think that's what's going on there. And he ends up, coming out, and he has many other members of the Saviors with him, and they confront Daryl and Rosita. Now, they're not alone, though. They have Eugene. And see, what was going on the other side of the story is that Abraham and Eugene were on their way to this factory where Eugene wants to make bullets. This is something from the comic books. Eugene knows how to make bullets. Basically, you keep the shells and he can fill them. And he says that's just a skill that he has, and he thinks that this factory would be the way to do it. It would help relations with the Hilltop, something that they could trade to them, because the Hilltop doesn't have any bullets. So Eugene was really using his resources in that way, and he takes Abraham with him. And we start to see a lot of change in Eugene. We start to see him becoming more, tougher. I think he really is changing a lot for the better. And he kind of admits that he sees that, that's something that he recognized that he needed to do. So he ends up, he actually has a little bit of a haircut. He changes his hairstyle a little bit. And Abraham notes this. And Eugene just says, well, the only way for me to survive is to, take it to the next step. It's like anything else, and he goes about a complicated way of explaining that. And when they go inside, there's a walker, and Eugene calls dibs. He calls dibs. He says, this is mine. I'm going to do this. But this is a very interesting walker. It's got like molten something on it. I think it's like melted steel, got embedded into the walker. And when he hits it on the head, the blade is deflected. So, Abraham's watching and waiting, and he jumps into action and saves Eugene. And Eugene gets upset. He says, I called dibs. That was mine. And he basically tells Abraham, he says, well, you've outlived your usefulness, to me. I don't need you to protect me all of the time like you did before. I'll admit you were there whenever we were going through and, going from Texas to DC. I needed you, but I feel that I'm becoming better. And Eugene, I think that really a lot of that was he also wants to, become tougher, and he doesn't want to have to rely on people to really help him. So I kind of get that, but on the other hand, Abraham brings up a good point. Everybody has their own skill sets. Abraham is better at, shooting, at killing walkers and people and defending himself, and Eugene is smart. He knows how to make bullets. He knows how to think big picture. So you do see those strengths coming into play, and Abraham ends up leaving. He's just frustrated with the way that Eugene has been talking to him, and basically, Eugene is being held hostage by Dwight. So we go to the railroad tracks, and we have Dwight holding Eugene hostage along with a bunch of other saviors, and Daryl and Rosita, and Dwight's basically explaining, hey, you need to take me back to your community, or else I'm going to kill Eugene. And Dwight is taunting Daryl, and Daryl's kind of like, gee, I wish I would have killed you. I've been saying it all along, and now it's true. It turns out I should have. And basically, Abraham is hiding behind these barrels, and Eugene ends up, doing something that he does from the comics. He tells Dwight that Abraham's hiding behind there, and as people start to go, Eugene bites Dwight in the private region, in his groin area. This is taken exactly from the comic books. And, it basically is given enough distraction where Abraham, Daryl, and Rosita are able to kill some of the saviors and send the rest of them running. Dwight ends up living and runs with them. Daryl wants to pursue, but Eugene has been wounded. He actually was shot by one of the bullets. So they get back to Alexandria. They treat Eugene. Thankfully, he's going to be okay. And they basically go about burying Denise. They're able to get her body back to the community. And Daryl and Carol bury her. And what ends up happening is Carol says to Daryl, she says, you know what? You were right. Once you said that you should have killed Dwight, I knew that you were right. And well, it looks like you should have. And I think that this was part of the reason. I think it's something that Carol's definitely been thinking about. But the way the episode ends is very shocking. Carol leaves Alexandria. We don't see it happen, but she leaves a note for Tobin. She says she's leaving the community. She says that the fact of the matter is, the way that the world is, their community is always going to be in danger. People are always going to want to have a community like theirs. And, they'll kill one threat, but another one will appear. And it's true, that's been the way the show has been. One threat gets killed, another one comes along, that one gets killed. And it's like a circle, it keeps coming around and coming around. And she says, I know this is the way that it's been. And obviously, if that happens and I stay, as much as I love all of you, and I do, I would have to kill for you. And I can't do that anymore. She basically says she can't kill, she won't kill, and that she just can't love anybody and kill for them. So that's why she's leaving. So we see, still Carol having that, crisis of conscience, if you will, from before. And it really makes me wonder where she's going to go with that. You know, where is she going is definitely hard to say, but she's gone. And obviously what we're going to be dealing with probably within these next couple of episodes, the last two, is the group going after Carol and maybe trying to figure out if they can bring her back. But definitely a very shocking conclusion to the episode. It's very sad that Denise died, but it definitely brings Rick's group back into check that the Saviors are still out there. They still are a threat, and there's some things that they're going to have to deal with. And sadly, I think we're only going to see worse and worse things happening until the end of the season. So with that, I'm going to bring this video to a close. I want to thank all of you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. And if you have any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see, don't be afraid to suggest them. Have a very wonderful evening, and thank you very much for watching.